We got breaking news from Redfin. Actually, I'm not even going to bother editing this video and making it all polished and everything. I'm just going to show it to you right here on the screen. And Redfin News just reported December 13th, so that was actually today, so you guys can see that the tide turns for renters as the asking rent post biggest decline in over 3 years. This is a big deal. This is huge news.
So I'm over here because I haven't seen this, and I see this and my brain goes, biggest decline in people renting or biggest decline in rent prices?
Yes. So interestingly enough, is that fuzz or gray?
Gray.
It's just shiny.
It's hot.
It's real
So
shiny.
is my forehead right now. I look like a small disco ball over here.
This is my life.
Have you not seen all my gray? It's not as noticeable right
this
here.
Is
though.
my,
this is my life. Finding new gray hairs everywhere, but you have so many here and I love them.
So I just need more over here so that one doesn't stand out. But yeah, so the decline in renters would also help to push the rent prices down. Mm-hmm. If you have less renters, you have less demand. That means that the landlords and investors need to incentivize renters to rent. But you know what could also push renting volume down?
Lowering of house prices or mortgage rates so people will go out and buy a home?
Yeah, well, I mean, all these things could play into it.
Okay.
But also an increase in available rentals.
Oh, that makes sense too.
So
I like your answer better.
As they were continuously building, like we went back to Georgia.
All those townhomes?
We went back to Georgia. No, those were townhouses.
Those are townhouses.
But I think they got some more apartment complexes coming up.
Yep.
But we saw all that building and construction going on. And here's the deal. Those townhouses, we saw some available here by us. You sent me one the other day for rent. Mm-hmm. It's a brand new build. We walked it and we could have bought it. Mm-hmm. And it's immediately available for rent. So that means somebody went and bought the townhouse to rent it out, or bought it and are now trying to rent it out.
I was going to say that's a smart money decision on their part if they had the ability to buy to turn around to rent.
Not necessarily.
Not if nobody rents.
Puts a tenant in it.
Then you're making extra payments on something that you don't need.
So if renters aren't renting and or there are more available options to rent, that's going to drive down the price that landlords can get for their rentals. Unless you have a unique one-off that literally people would, give anything to have access to rent. But for the most part, that's not going to be the case. For the most part, we're looking at typical average multifamily apartment complexes, small rental houses, townhome communities, or whatever. And theoretically, this is really, really good news.
Mm-hmm. Theoretically.
It says, Redfin says that the tide turns for renters as asking rents post biggest decline in over 3 years. So that would take us to 2020, the tail end of 2019, over 3 years. Mm-hmm. As long as it's 366 days, it's over the year mark. They get real clever with how they want to word this. And also, we got charts here.
As long as you have charts, you're good.
If you have charts, that just
solidifies, right?
That seals the deal for everything. And so it just shows the median U.S. asking rent changes from year over year change, median asking rent change, and it's dipping down. I mean, you can see where it shot up tremendously, but it's dipping down since the 3 year mark. Yeah,
but that dip down still isn't where I'd like it to be, which is before all of the hike.
The median U.S. asking rent fell 2% year over year in November, the biggest decline since 2020, as landlords grappled with rising vacancies due to a building boom in recent years. But rents are what?
I have a question.
What you got?
Is it fell 2% year over year, meaning every year it fell 2%, so now we're down 6%? Or is it saying a total of 2% year over year since the end of 2019?
They're really technically only saying that for the month of November, the median rent price is down 2% from the month of November last year. Okay. That's it.
Because they say year over year, which confuses me, and I don't know if that's just me not.
They could say since last year, but the charts just say YOY. It's just the term that they use for the charts.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I'm reading this, I'm hearing this, I'm seeing this, and this is similar to the Walmart CEO is talking about with deflation. Oh, yeah. Okay. We're going to talk more about that tomorrow. Deflation, okay? And the thing is that I hear what you're saying, but can I see it?
That is the question.
2%. 2% is cool, but at the same time, just doing my own little independent research, investigating the general consensus. And actually, I'm going to put up a community post poll on the channel and ask if you're seeing a decline in rent prices. That's going to be an interesting poll because from what I can tell, the answer is no.
So in theory, when we are, because technically we are renting an apartment. So in theory, when it comes up for our renewal, it should be the same or it should have dropped in order to keep us here. It should not.
Well, that's tricky there because
we're already in. They already have us. There's no need to drop it.
And here's the thing. What this chart does not share are concessions. It does not share concessions.
Okay.
Therefore, if the rent prices dropped, as they say, great. But it doesn't include the concessions or the add-ons. So it's like rent prices went down, but the trash service fee went up.
Your water went up. Your electricity went up.
Or whatever is
landscaping,
paid
all those
through
things.
your
Yeah,
rent.
that makes sense.
Whatever is paid through your rent.
Yeah.
Because we have to have our own account with the power company.
We have our own power.
But
our
the
own,
water isn't.
It's part of.
And it's like, oh, they could be like, hey, we're going to lower your rent. And then it's like, why all of a sudden my water bill go up 15%?
Because we lowered your rent 15%.
We've been here.
5%.
We've been, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The chart doesn't say that.
Yes.
So there's a possibility that maybe the rent prices are going down.
But it doesn't mean your bank account is seeing a difference.
It's like saying, oh, my mortgage is whatever, but your mortgage includes escrow, and that includes property taxes, and that includes insurance, and that includes all these other things. So your mortgage continuously fluctuates year over year. And if we only look at it from the surface, for face value, then we may be tricked. We may be misled.
Bamboozled.
We may be, bamboozled and hoodwinked.
Hoodwinked. What else we got? I think we should find some more old school versions.
Whatever old idioms we have out there. We actually saw this guy, he had a damn chart of unemployment from the 1890s. It's like, who the hell was tracking unemployment? Bill got laid off at the old horse carriage facility.
According to Abraham Lincoln, you cannot believe everything you see on the internet. So that's all I'm saying.
Abraham Lincoln was the first one tracking this data and uploading it to the internet.
Accurate.
And so it says that the rent prices are down, but rents are still rising.
And this is where I always have questions. Prices are down, but so they're saying prices are down, but more people are going out to rent, or they're saying prices are down.
The tide turns. Renters asking rents post the biggest decline in over 3 years. Redfin said it.
My head hurts.
Redfin says that the rents are down 2% year over year, but rents are still rising in the Midwest, partly because of out-of-towners are moving in to get more bang for their buck.
Oh, so the people in the Midwest are like, your accent sounds super East Coast, West Coast, Southern, Northern. We're going to charge you just a hint more than if you sounded Midwestern-ish.
Yeah,
Yes.
And this is, but if you came from Florida, get the hell out of Florida. Because apparently, if you read the comments on any of my videos about leaving Florida, people want you to get the hell out of here. But
we're full.
The 2% drop year over year for November is going to be an average of the median across the board. So when people say, yeah, that's total BS, my rent's not dropping where I am, it's probably right because your rent didn't drop.
Yeah, but it did over there. And
it dropped enough over there to make the 2% drop overall, even though yours still went up.
That city where the Walmart left, the Publix left, and those other stores left, your rent has gone down because there's no reason for people to move there because nothing's open, so they can't charge you more. So that rent has gone down. For the places where they've moved in a petroleum factory, your rent's probably gone down too because now you're surrounded by chemicals all day.
While rents are dropping, they're still 22.1% higher than they were in November of 2019.
And this is what we talk about inflation all the time. Inflation's only at 2%. After you hike that shit up to 21%, now you can say it's down 2%, but it's the semantics of it all. Isn't that the right word?
Yeah. So we got the chart here that shows the apartment construction boom gives renters more options to choose from, which is true. So in the areas that has the most boom in apartment construction, more than likely is going to see the biggest drop in rent prices unless there's tons of demand, which could theoretically be the case depending on your
How
location.
nice the apartments are and the location.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's a
honestly,
crap hole, it's
I would
probably
say
not gonna be
that
high demand.
if there's a high demand for rental, there's also a thriving job market there.
Or a sports team.
So here,
Think about when we went to Chicago over there by
they
Wrigley
bought
Field.
that was
Wrigley,
I doubt
right?
those are rental. Yeah, Wrigley.
Yeah,
but
all those brownstones. Is that what it's called?
maybe some of the houses, the brownstones, yeah, but the brick buildings, they weren't that many. Like I think those might have been owned.
Okay.
But either way, I would think that if there's a huge demand for renting, there's a thriving job market. And here, our thriving job market is literally the Air Force, the Army, the military, the armed forces. That's the thriving. If you go down by Tyndall, you're going to have a thriving job market that brings people in
year round
that would be enticed to rent. And the rent is subsidized by the government, so everything is like it's a done deal. But in other areas, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, in other areas, you're going to see some landlords and some investors really, really panic because they went out and they bought multiple properties, they bought investment properties, they bought Airbnbs at the height.
I don't think too many people would be upset if they watch BlackRock panic a little bit. I'm just saying.
BlackRock can handle it. It's going to be the smaller ones that are going to get the squeeze.
That's true.
So when you start to see incentives and concessions like free first month, free last month, discount this, that, and the other, whatever, that's when they're beginning to panic. When they ask you to sign a lease over 12 months, that they're kind of panicked, like, hey, we just want to make sure we're going to get paid for a longer period of time. If they have to refinance, potentially at a higher rate because they married the house and they dated the rate, but the rate on their adjustable rate mortgage is higher than it was at the time because they thought it was going to go down and it didn't. There's going to be a lot of factors here, and probably a lot of properties that they thought that they could potentially make money on in short-term rentals or flipping that they didn't and they can't, that then end up hitting the market in long-term rentals, which would then create more supply in the multifamily space and apartments, which I talked about, which was like, hey, we could go get a house. We go rent a house for the same price we rent an apartment for because how many more people are listing their house for rent? And it just creates more competition and drives the prices down.
So I got two things. I was thinking about it when you were like, don't pay your first month or don't pay your last month or whatever. I was like, if you're not like at that level where you can be like, just don't pay me for a month, but you want to do something to sweeten the deal, I'll send you a pizza the first Friday of every month for as long as you lease with us.
You never
I'd be
know.
like, man, what kind of pizza though? Don't give me Little Caesars crap. I want the expensive stuff.
When people were putting out ridiculous offers to buy houses? Obviously, they were all cash, all over asking, but they had to stand out. And I think one person submitted an offer, says, if you accept my offer, I will let you name my next child. It was.
Oh, don't do that with me.
Like it was
Beelzebub.
Crazy.
I don't know. I can't think of names. But so the other thing I was going to say is we were actually looking at rental homes here in our area, and I've always wanted one with a pool, which is why we like our apartment because it has a nice pool. And I came across two different homes that had pools, and his whole thing was not wanting a pool in a home because it's a lot of upkeep. Both of these rentals said weekly pool maintenance included with your rent, meaning because they know a lot of people don't want to take care of those things. So they went ahead and it's listed on Zillow or whatever else. We're going to take care of the pool. You don't have to worry about it.
You know why else?
Which is smart on their end because if you don't take care of it, that's messing up their property.
But also, they already had it under contract because they thought that they were going to be able to do a short-term rental on Vacasa or
probably.
VRBO or Verbo or Airbnb or whatever it was. That's not panning out.
Yeah.
They already have the contract with the pool service maintenance company. These people probably don't even live here. They probably live on they probably live somewhere else where it's a whole lot more affordable. And they thought that this was going to be a great investment for them. And it's turning out not to be. And so, they're literally getting desperate and they're looking to begin to subsidize your living at the expense of them at least not having to pay the full amount every month, and instead of being on the hook for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, they'll be on the hook for $500 or $1,000.
Yeah.
Which
in your mind still sucks, but if it's
they don't have to sell it for a loss, they don't have to foreclose on it, because if they sell it for a loss, if they could potentially sell it for a loss, then they're looking at like maybe $100,000 out of pocket between getting it ready to sell, the real estate professional fees, the real estate agent fees, and the closing costs, the commissions, like everything that they would be all in on just to lose it. So it's like, well, if I'm gonna lose $100,000, I could at least lose $1,000 a month, and over the next 5 to 10 years, maybe I don't lose all of that money. But even then, at that time, I've at least chipped away at the principal balance, gained some equity. And so, but either way, I think that we got to take this with a grain of salt. The tide turns for renters as asking rents post biggest decline in over 3 years. Sure, 2%. Is the biggest decline.
Technically, they're not lying.
2%, 2.1% year over year, November, depending on where you live, still is 22% higher than 2019.
That's really
But I will put up the community post because I want to know your thoughts and opinions in your area if you're seeing rent prices stay the same, go up, or go down. And then we're going to keep an eye on this and see how it pans out, because the December numbers are going to be really interesting, and I think Q1 2024 winter numbers are going to be really, really telling. And then going into spring break, if spring break, we're going to look at air DNA. If spring break is down, 2024 is going to be a beast.
I agree.
2024 is going to be a beast, and then again, I can understand why certain people are saying, and they are not agreeing with some of the videos that they're seeing or some of the news headlines. I'm reading the comments, because even these news, I don't know if Redfin does it, but some of these news articles, like at the bottom, they'll have comments.
Yahoo does it a lot.
And they're not agreeing. They're like, no, rent's not coming down. And it's because it's an average, it's a numbers game, it's median, it's a manipulation of charts and graphs that they like to do all the time. And it's another game that they play. Everybody's going to put this information out, all the news, they're all going to put out the same headline, but they're not necessarily going to do it. They're not necessarily really going to break it down for you in that headline to explain what it really means, because you're going to say to yourself, well, if you're saying that the prices are coming down, if you're saying we're expecting deflation, how come I'm not seeing it? How come I'm not feeling it? And that's why.
There you go.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Okay, bye.